Hey, this is Kevin from Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. If you want more information like you're about ready to see, go ahead and hit like and subscribe to support this independent podcast.
Garrett Wilson, who finished wide receiver 19, 83 receptions, 147 targets, 1,103 yards, 4 touchdowns, with an average of 8.6 targets per game. What are our thoughts here on Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson was able to turn a really good season last year, given the circumstances that he was dealt with at the quarterback position, right? So logically, you would think that you upgrade at quarterback, that automatically makes you a better target for fantasy as a wide receiver. I'm not so sure I buy it. And honestly, with where he's going, I'll let him fly by, and I'll eat my crow later if that's the case. But I am not targeting Garrett Wilson this year.
I'm in on Garrett Wilson. I think that he can do some big things. He's coming off the board at wide receiver 10 right now, which kind of puts him at that back end of round 2, beginning of round 3, which puts him in that rich kind of territory there. Is he a guy that I necessarily want as my wide receiver 1? Because that's where you're going to have to probably draft him at, most likely, is as your wide receiver 1, unless you're going with a 0 RB type of strategy and you took Justin Jefferson or you took Jamar Chase in round 1 and you followed that up with like a Garrett Wilson in round 2. Like that's a kind of a tough one to swing there. I think that's probably about where I think you're kind of drafting him about where his ceiling is when it's all said and done, right? Like I don't see him being able to, I don't see him necessarily breaking into like wide receiver 6 or better. I think that he'll finish back end of wide receiver 1. And when you look at it, he had it's kind of crazy, right? Like a rookie coming in and getting 147 targets. Like that's just insane. The problem is that a large majority of those weren't even catchable. Out of the 147 targets, only 91 of those were deemed as a catchable ball. So he was getting absolutely just kind of, garbage targets. I think that he can do well. I think that we'll see him, probably up there in the 1,300 yards. Whether or not the Jets can really, put the ball in the end zone, that's going to be part of it as well.